individual. Once again, we would like to thank you for your cooperation in ensuring all those that have contributed in one way or the other to ensuring a smooth, fair, and open and transparent election. We would like to thank you for that, and please stay tuned for the rest of the evening as the results unfold.
Welcome once again. And this time around, I'm being joined by Ms. Angel Wilson, the Supervisor of Elections from Anguilla. And she's here to share with us, for our viewers, what the organization that she represents, what all she does under her capacity, and elaborate more with us as to her experience today and what all she's bear witness to. Without further ado, Ms. Angel Wilson, do share with us, for our viewers, the organization.
Thank you and good evening, St. Martin. I want to say first thanks to the Deputy Chair and the Chair of the Central Voting Bureau for inviting me to St. Martin and to be a part of your experience today. It has been really enlightening because I've been able to learn a few things. I am the Supervisor of Elections for Anguilla. Unlike St. Martin, I am the sole person that is responsible for the administration of the elections. And we have elections every 5 years, and we have one later this year. And so my visit to St. Martin was actually to look at some of the best practices and some of the things that we could kind of use as well. Okay.
In what capacity are you in here once again for today's St. Martin on our whole?
What has been happening in the Caribbean? We have basically a collaboration of supervisors of elections. In October, I would have invited St. Martin because Jason and Tamara came over to Anguilla and we had a mock elections, and it was their insistence that I'm here. At that time, we also had supervisors of election from the BVI as well as the U.S. Virgin Islands. So there was a collaboration of some of the things that we could actually do in common to make this process a little more efficient.
Okay. How was your day's experience today in St. Martin for our St. Martin Parliamentary Elections 2020?
Well, St. Martin, on your behalf, I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, and at 5 o'clock we were at the civil registry where they were handing out it. The thing that I enjoyed most today is that the pressure was not on me, and it was nice to see somebody else being pressured and having to make sure that everything, all the ducks were in a row. And so from that perspective, it was relieving, but also it was one of those experiences where you were looking at best practice that you can take away.
Yeah.
While there are a lot of things that are similar, there were some dissimilarities with it. And by the way, I'm also here with two of my returning officers for my bigger districts in Anguilla. And so all three of us were looking at different aspects of the process today, some that we have that we are going to implement because I found that it made it so much easier. One of the things I was really surprised and excited about, you had no lines. In Anguilla in 2015, we had persons actually standing in line for 2 to 3 hours. And I was trying to see today what it is that you guys are doing more efficiently that we want. And so we're able to take away some of those experiences and implement them later this year.
How do you envision your experience, and also aiding in your capacity back home in Anguilla?
I think it's a very positive one. I think that some of the things, like for instance, the involvement of the politicians in terms of helping to educate the voters, for instance, that dummy ballot that you had, I think I can implement that. I can also ask for some support. You guys had an overwhelming amount of support, whereas, of course, our numbers are smaller in Anguilla because my voting population as of yesterday, 2 o'clock, was 11,152. Of course, you have far more than that. And I think some of the things we can actually use as a result of that. So it's a very good experience.
Okay. Hopes and working relationship between St. Martin and Anguilla. What are you looking forward to?
I have, for maybe the last 18 months, been in contact with St. Martin. I sought them out because some of the things, for instance, the voting booths, you have some really, I love your voting booths, by the way, they have the lights and stuff like that. And you try not to reinvent something when you have a resource. So it was easy to make contact with Jason and Tamara And because I've been several times to St. Martin in terms of seeking advice and where you can source certain materials. And so that as a result, we kind of developed that relationship, and it's paid off, for me at least, for Anguilla, I should say.
Anything you'd like to say to our general public and people around the world who's probably viewing right now?
Yes, what I would like to reassure St. Martin is that the persons who are responsible for administering this election, they can actually rest assured that it was free, fair, and open, and very transparent. And so you actually have nothing to worry about. And so you just have to sit back and wait for the results.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
So I'm one of the nurses of the ambulance team. We are with 4 nurses. The ambulance team works mainly outside on the road. We do home visits, whereby we visit clients at home to administer medication, do the follow-up, counseling, whatever.
Eddie, where are you? Come now. Morning, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad.
Good. Easy going, man. What about you?
A little anxious these days.
How come? What happened?
I think somebody trying to kill me.
Okay, you taking your medication?
Yeah.
So, where's your pillbox?
In the house.
You going to get it for me?
Yeah.
The most rewarding aspect for me is the appreciation that I get from clients and family. Yes, we know we would all want a big salary, but that is what counts for me. Well, what I would like the community to know about mental health in general is that it's not a stigma. I noticed on St. Martin that they talk about somebody's crazy. It's not somebody's crazy because a mental illness can be drugs, alcohol induced. It can be a trauma after disaster, which we saw, for example, after Irma. So it can have different reasons. It's not that when you see somebody is behaving different or strange that you say the person is crazy. And besides that, somebody can be treated.
Thank you. Take care.
But you've also been in an advisory capacity for government for several years as well.
I used to work for government in the education department, and for the last 10 years or so that I worked with government, I was the director of the department. So in that capacity, I also advise government on educational matters because I'm also a qualified trained teacher. Before I did my law studies, I qualified as a teacher.
And you've been in the capacity of acting governor also for several years now.
For several years now, since 1010.
And how was that experience for you?
Very good. Very, very good. I'm able to apply, my knowledge that I had from working previously in government, and then now combined with my legal knowledge. So it's a nice position to have. Yeah.
But I can imagine, because we've seen over the years since 10 there has been several developments in government, especially with the changes in government, where the office of the governor has sort of become a central figure in developments. Maybe you can share with us your experience and how you feel about that.
Well, I'm not going to go into, let's say, details of the position of the governor. We all know that at the governor's cabinet, what is done there remains there. It's not really divulged to the public. The governor has to maintain a very independent position. And myself as the deputy, the same would apply to me. But indeed, during the last years, the role of the governor has been, let's say, used a whole lot in the various formations. Every time after the government is sent home or parliament is dissolved, that whole process has to be started, and the governor takes the lead in that. So I would say that competence of the governor has been very much utilized.
Okay. And I would want to say you've come up with this proposal, your contribution to the entire electoral reform system. Would you say that it came about as a result of the experiences you've seen in government and being a deputy governor over the years?
Not really. I have been researching our constitutional structure for many years. Before I even became a lawyer, I was looking at that, analyzing it, comparing it with different systems. And after I became a lawyer, I started documenting certain things more on a regular basis. And years ago, I decided to do a thesis or dissertation, let's call it that, on the constitutional structure. And recently, I really started seriously to write and research. So the article that I published some years ago is part of a dissertation that I'm busy with. That dissertation has a lot of chapters, but I decided to write this chapter and put it out to the public based on the actuality. It's actual now, it's been happening, and I see that as a way to change and to avoid government falling every minute, to create a more stable platform for government and parliament. And the idea is to present a lot more proposals, because what I'm doing in the dissertation is looking at the trias politica doctrine, see how it's applied here to us, analyze it. My position is that it's not really working in the best interest of our country, and I'm coming with recommendations as to what could be adjusted, what could be tweaked, what could be changed to suit our culture, to suit our history, to suit our way of conducting politics. So this is just one chapter. There are chapters. Well, actually, I'm starting from the whole history.
Oh, okay.
The whole history of us before we were a colony and when we became a colony, and looking at the constitutional stages that we have gone through. I'm also going to highlight what is considered to be our first constitution, and that dates back to 1863.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and from there, how it has changed, how it has developed, and to what it is today, and with a total analysis of how the government is functioning, Parliament, the ministries, and see what recommendations are to be made to correct certain things.
Okay. And in this particular one, this particular article or the proposal that you're mentioning here, one of the very interesting terms that I'm hearing a lot about lately is transplanting. So a transplanted constitution or transplanted articles. Maybe you could explain exactly why that term is being used.
Yeah. You know, there are so many constitutions made for so many countries throughout the world. If you check with the United Nations, I think there are over 200 different countries. So if you're going to make a constitution, you're not going to invent anything new.
All right.
So you have to take, you have to copy, you have to paste from the existing constitution. So where that is concerned, we have, in developing our constitution, we took from the Constitution of the Netherlands Antilles, which came out of the Constitution of the Netherlands. We, at the time, we looked at the Constitution of South Africa, because that was one of the recent constitutions that was developed, and especially where it pertained to the human rights issues.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Hello, St. Martin. My name is Stephanie Medina, and I play football with the Walichi Women's Soccer team. I have represented St. Martin in many different games. For example, the Dutch Caribbean Women's Soccer Cup. I played against Bonaire, Aruba, and Curacao right here in this stadium. Sports matter to me because it makes me happy, it keeps me fit and healthy, and it is very fun. So I asked the business community to take on this challenge and help us rebuild our facilities. And I also asked the community to nominate the local businesses in your area and take on the challenge and step up for sport. Why? Because sports matter. Check out the Department of Sport Facebook page for more information. #SportsMatter, #AreYouIn.
How are you doing this morning? Good. So Rebecca, thank you for coming. I work as a psychologist at the Mental Health Foundation. I mainly see children and adolescents, but I also see adults. So whenever there's a crowd, that's when you're starting to feel
nervous.
Okay.
Nauseous.
Okay, it's kind of like your body. We are so used to taking care of our body. If we have a little ache in our foot, we know to rest it. We know, okay, I might have walked too much, so I need to rest. Now, of course, that can be just an ache in my foot, but I can also break my leg. Now, for breaking my leg, I would have to go to the doctor. So that kind of goes the same for mental health illnesses. So you can come in for something little as, I'm really stressed out lately. What would you need? A little bit of rest. But someone can also come in with way more difficulties. We're not here to judge right or wrong, good or bad. Is it helpful for you? Fine. Is it not helpful for you? okay, then let's see what we can do about it. But not a wrong nor right, absolutely not. It's a magnifying glass without judgment.
Well, there's still a lot of stigma on the island, unfortunately. It's not a topic that people easily talk about, and that's a shame. They're afraid that they get judged, and there is still quite a bit of judgment. I mean, often we hear, yeah, don't go to that crazy house. Once you go in, you never go back. And it's just not true, you know? We treat a lot of patients here, and a lot of them we get back on their feet.
Our goal at the Mental Health Foundation is for us to help you improve your life, for you to live a better, happier, and fuller life.
Thank you very much, Tobias and Charity, for the job well done throughout the entire evening and the wee hours in the morning, and keeping the viewers informed. St. Martin, you have spoken. I can inform you that I've just gotten off the phone with His Excellency Governor Eugene Holliday, and have informed him of how St. Martin has spoken, what the total amount of votes are, and also what the preliminary results are in general, and also the allotment of the seats. I've also done so with the Prime Minister, Ms. Silveria Jacobs. I've also informed her of how St. Martin has spoken by their votes, and also what the preliminary results are. Without any further ado, I would like to inform you that the total amount of valid casted votes, based on the information that we have received from the various polling stations, the 20 polling stations, the total amount of valid casted votes are 13,333. And that will mean that the quota would be 889. Having said that, I would want to recap by stating that the total amount of votes that the United Democrats have received are 1,162 votes. The UP party would have received 3,232 votes. The US party received 1,759 votes. The PFP received 1,408 votes. The PPA received 326 votes. The SMCP received 752 votes, and the National Alliance received 4,694 votes. That would mean, based on the total amount of valid casted votes divided by the amount of seats that we have in Parliament, that will be 889, that will be the quota. And that will mean that 11 seats have been fully out-earned, so to speak. And that would also mean that we had 4 residual seats to divide. The first residual seat went to the US party, whereas the second residual seat went to the UP party. The third residual seat went to the National Alliance, the NA, and the fourth residual seat went to the PFP. Subsequently, the seat allotment is as follows. The United Democrats received 1 seat in Parliament. The UP party, 4 seats. The USB, 2 seats. The PFP, 2 seats. And the National Alliance, 6 seats, which are a total of 15 seats in Parliament. I would like to stress on the fact that these are the preliminary results based on the information that have been called in to the headquarters here by the various polling stations on the island. As per the election ordinance, 5 days after the day of election, there will be a public session which is scheduled for January 14th, 2020 at 10 a.m. right here in the House of Parliament, whereby we will then establish the results. As per the legislation, it is so that each eligible voter is allowed to be present, and should there be any kind of objection that an eligible voter would like to file during that public session, he or she may do so by voicing that objection and, of course, motivated. Should there be grounds for the objection, the voting bureau, the Central Voting Bureau, of course, will deliberate and, of course, give its decision on those objections. Once again, I would like to indicate that that public session is scheduled for January 14th at 10 a.m. And these are the preliminary results. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for cooperating with the Central Voting Bureau in organizing these elections. I would like to thank, of course, once again, as I've indicated in the beginning, the KPSM, of course, the Civil Registry, VROMI, the Ministry of VROMI, that also assisted in setting up the voting booths, the polling stations, and, of course, the Department of Communication that have been our very close stakeholder and have been assisting us in getting the word out to you, the public, not only by way of infomercials, but also by providing you with the preliminary results and uploading those on the website. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention, and these are the preliminary results. Again, I repeat one more time, the United Democrats, 1 seat, the UP Party, 4 seats, the U.S. Party, 2 seats, PFP, 2 seats, and the National Alliance, 6 seats. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.